When examining Botticelli's art, two pieces in particular stand out. First, his Primavera, and second, his Birth of Venus. On the subject of Primavera, some noteworthy aspects of it are, first and foremost, that it is located in Uffizi Gallery in Florence, Italy. It has dimensions of 202 by 314 centimeters, and it was painted between 1477 and 1482. The exact date is unknown. However, it has been suggested that it was painted for Lorenzo di Pierfrancesco de' Medici's wedding. It is quite evidently a piece of very early Renaissance material. Some basic elements of Renaissance art are present, but more are missing. In fact, there seems to be no linear perspective present, nor much atmospheric perspective, except what can be seen through the trees. The limbs of the characters appear to be rather long and slender, painted gracefully. This is especially true for Venus, as she is painted as the ideal woman. Note, the observations made here do not necessarily reflect on the beliefs of the narrator. The setting of the painting is most likely Venus's realm. Moving from right to left, we can see Zephyrus fecundating Chloris and taking her for himself, which then leads to her becoming Flora, the goddess of spring, who spreads her flowers, a symbol of love and fertility, across the clearing. Next is Venus, who stands underneath Cupid and in an arc formed by the trees, centering the painting around her. Venus stands gesturing towards her right, where Cupid also aims his bow. To her right are the three Graces, who represent chastity, beauty, and love, dancing together, suggesting a combination of the three being present. And furthest to the right lies Mercury, holding a staff and focusing his attention upwards, presumably to dissipate clouds or bad weather. As I said before, the painting was likely inspired by Lorenzo's wedding, which would mean that all the elements of the painting fit in perfectly. Chloris and Flora representing Lorenzo's bride, Venus and the three Graces representing the happy and loving marriage that Botticelli would be implying that they would have, and Mercury representing Botticelli's well wishes for the soon-to-be wedded couple. Since 1919, the picture has remained in Uffizi Gallery, except during the Italian campaign of World War II, where it was moved to Monteghufoni Castle, roughly 10 miles southwest of Florence, to protect it from bombing. It was restored once in 1982 because over the course of time it has darkened significantly. Further history about the painting is not clearly known or defined, and therefore it is something of a mystery among art pieces. His second piece, and by many accounts the more famous, The Birth of Venus, was painted in 1486, has dimensions of 172.5 by 278.5 centimeters, is located in the Uffizi Gallery in Florence, Italy, and was likely painted as a result of one of Botticelli's acquaintances telling him the tale of the birth of Venus, leaving him inspired with awe enough to create one of the most famous paintings in the world. The tale in question being such: Cronus, Greek titan of time, after having killed his father Uranus, the Greek titan of the sky, cut his body into countless pieces, part of which involved castration, and tossed Uranus's genitals into the ocean behind him. Aphrodite, who would later be renamed by the Romans as Venus, arose from the foam produced by his genitals. However, in Botticelli's painting, she is shown arriving on a seashell. In this painting, despite being quite obviously the goddess of love, Venus is portrayed as being quiet, shy, and contemplative, which can be told by the expression on her face, as she lacks a smile and in fact looks somewhat somber. She's looking down and to her right instead of at the viewer. Even looking at her actions, she makes an effort to conceal herself, to cover herself. Botticelli has made an effort to focus more on the individual in this work, choosing to keep the number of figures few and their importance larger. Indeed, the background is filler at best, the characters cast no shadows, and it is quite clear how fantastical this depiction is. Despite that, Botticelli never liked naturalistic painting. It was never very common for him. Therefore, Venus is quite impossible, as her neck is elongated and so is her torso, and her pose could not be sustained as her weight is shifted too far to her left to be able to stand, as well as the poses of the anemoi are nearly impossible to recognize or reproduce. On Venus's left stands a handmaiden, patiently waiting for Venus to get closer to her so that she may cloak her and serve her mistress. To Venus's right fly two anemoi. One is blowing a wind that spreads violets, a symbol of love, around the scene. The Neoplatonic meaning lies in that love is a driving force of life. Without Venus, which is to say without love, everything else in the painting loses its meaning. Without Venus standing in the middle, the handmaid holds the cloak for no one, the seashell supports nothing, the anemoi blow wind for no one, and the violets become a symbol for no one. In essence, Venus is what makes the painting worthwhile, and if we take that principle and apply it to life in general, we can see that Botticelli was trying to make a comparison to life, in that love was the most important virtue, and without it, everything else loses its relative value. One of the more interesting things about this is that this is one of the first ever Renaissance works to depict a nude woman that was not Eve, setting a theme for Renaissance artists to follow, both in mimicking ancient Greek and Roman styles and in showing an appreciation for the nude body of people, especially so when idealized. In fact, it may be that Botticelli took inspiration from Praxiteles' Aphrodite sculpture of the goddess rising from the sea, a fully grown nude woman who is modestly covering herself. The painting may very likely have taken influence from Venus de Medici, which was an ancient Greek sculpture of Aphrodite rising from the sea, so named because it was in possession of the Medici at the time Botticelli made this painting, and it was also a statue which he would have had ample opportunity to study. In both of these works, we can observe an appreciation for passion and emotional impact, produced by exquisite detail, down to the gold laced in Venus's hair, up to the hundreds of types of flowers present, and the evident emotion present in each character's face and body. In truth, both of these, but more so the birth of Venus, would be inspiration to countless future Renaissance artists, from Donatello's David, utilizing a nude body, to Michelangelo's painting of the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, utilizing both a nude body and idealistic proportions that stretch the imagination. In summation, these pieces are important to art history because they help to set the tone for inspiration of future Renaissance pieces. And both became iconic because of the precedent they set, or rather the precedents they broke. Art pieces were no longer Christian, they could portray the natural body, and they would sometimes be idealized beyond reality.